Great seeing you here. My name is Luc de Kuster, founder of the Kuster Academy. And in this new video, I will talk about the critical chain. How do we define the critical chain? But before we continue, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. So let's have a look at the critical chain. What is the critical chain? We first look at the project in what we call as late as possible planning. And what we see here, we have the critical path, 4 activities. And on the second activity, we have our resource, Harry Potter, who's working on that critical path activity. The second thing, we have a second path, and we have 2 activities here. And one of the activities, again, Harry Potter has been assigned to. The last path is a path with 3 activities, again with Harry Potter working on one of those different activities. And that's the first thing that we have. So we have the project like it is. And what we now have to do is to add the buffers to the project. So when we have the project with buffers, I didn't put the buffers here yet. The first thing we do, of course, Harry Potter will be working on the critical path, and we have a project buffer on the critical path. That's the main project buffer, and we also have the feeder buffer on the first critical path, the top non-critical path, and the bottom non-critical path. So here we have the different buffers. But what do we see here? We see that at a certain moment, Harry Potter is working on 3 activities. Let's say that these activities are basically in parallel. And that's a problem. We cannot have this because this is a problem for our planning. Now, what has to change? First of all, we have Harry Potter as a resource working on several important tasks, and they are allocated in parallel. And what is very important, one of them is on the critical path. According to the feeder and project buffers, we do not change the allocation of our special resource Harry Potter. We just add the buffers, but they are still those activities to which Harry Potter has been assigned. Now, we first start with the activity on the critical path, and we also add a feeder buffer here. So we put a feeder buffer there to take into account any delays that would happen on this critical path. The second thing to do is to use the feeding buffers to free Harry Potter so that he will only work on one activity at a time. When we have the path here, so basically what we are doing now, we adjusted the feeder buffer, and now we see Harry Potter starts working on the critical path, but Harry Potter is now after the feeder buffer. So the feeder buffers are used to create the slack, the time for Harry Potter to work on these activities. Now what we do is we define the critical chain, and the critical chain is not related to the activities anymore, but it is related to the resource Harry Potter, and we see in green the critical chain. So we first have Harry Potter on the critical path, then we have the second activity to which Harry Potter has been assigned to, and the third. And this line is what we call the critical chain. The critical chain is related to the person or the critical resource that is allocated to a series of activities. So that was it for the definition of the critical chain. Anyway, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next videos. Thank you, and bye-bye.